Davey, I wish it was under better circumstances that we're chatting, but nonetheless, it's good to hear from you again. How are you doing?
Hanging in there. How are you?
I'm doing all right. I saw on Instagram that you guys had some misfortune on tour, and immediately since you and I have become friends as well as Ralph, and I just want to help out as any way that we can with the show to bring some awareness as to what plight you guys have befallen. So, dude, I saw that, and that's like a nightmare, man. Getting your van and your gear stolen on tour. So that's fucking rough, dude.
Yeah, it happened. I guess the silver lining was that it happened the morning of the very last show of tour, so it ended up only impacting one of the shows. But yeah, like you said, our whole van was stolen. The gear was in the back of the van. I had about 6 months ago bought a van.
Oh man.
Kind of went all in and said, okay, I don't do a lot of driving day to day, so I'm gonna get a van, make it like a band van, tour van, and just yeah, have that be my daily driver as well as the official band van. And Had a custom loft put in the back, like a plywood loft, so you couldn't see into the van and even see that there was anything back there. Added one of those hasp blocks to the back of the van for extra security. So all the gear was secured in this loft and behind this like 4-seat bench. But I mean, I kept making jokes that, oh, the gear should be fine just as long as no one's takes the entire van, and that is exactly what happened. So it was pretty devastating, to say the least.
How far away from home are you when this happened?
So we were in Oakland. I mean, it's about without any stops, a 10-hour drive from Portland. So yeah, we ended up having to stay in Oakland an extra day, hoping that the cops would, maybe recover the vehicle. And we were trying to track it down as well. I had one of those Apple AirTags in there, but that had clearly been removed from the van, because every time we or the police showed up, the van was not where the tracker was. So yeah, we stayed an extra day, and then I ended up having to just rent a car so we could drive home. And Yeah, that was that was kind of all we knew at that point. And then about a week after it happened, we got another call saying that they recovered the van. But
Oh,
we've since learned that the van is in pretty rough shape, and all of the gear and merch that we had in the back of the van is gone. So yeah.
dude, that's heartbreaking, man. Especially knowing that you just had purchased this thing. You know.
Yeah, and I mean, so it's they did a pretty good number on the van too. I mean, the outside is fine, but they took out the back bench seat. That's how they got to all the gear back there. And there were I when I bought the van, there were a couple of roof mounted DVD players in there. They stripped those. There was like a charging brick that was under one of the seats that was in the van when I bought it. They took that. They took the catalytic converter. Of course, like messed up some of the locks and the ignition. I mean, they even took my floor mats.
Oh
Like
man.
they just kind of grabbed, I think, anything that they thought was worth grabbing. And like my snow chains. I mean, like, yeah, everything. Just they kind of just they had several days with it, so they probably hid it somewhere, went to town, and then dumped it.
Yeah, I
So
mean, it kind of sound that the catalytic converter thing is like a racket that goes on everywhere, man. I know my old van, like this is going back a few years, that was stolen from me, and they when I still lived in Brooklyn, in Greenpoint before Greenpoint was like the cool like spot it is now. I remember I was going to drive up to my parents' house, and I walked down the street, and I was with my girlfriend at the time. We get in the van, and it was parked in this kind of desolate, like I mean, most of Greenpoint was desolate back then. So like I got in the van, we started it up. I'm like, damn it, thing is friggin' loud, man. So
Yeah.
I'm like driving up, and we get to my parents' house, and the next one, like, I got to bring this in. Maybe it's a muffler or something like that. So I brought it in. They're like, yeah, oh yeah, by the way, your catalytic converter was like torched out of your exhaust system, and I was like, holy man, really? And they're like, yeah, actually, you know what? That's like a thing. They were telling me that that's like this racket that's been going on, and I put in a police report. And, of course, nothing. They don't find things like that. But yeah, that's like a thing that people are looking for. I mean, has there been like reports of that kind of stuff happening a lot in the Oakland area?
I mean, I was kind of shocked. You hear news stories about Portland or other major cities kind of, having their various difficulties since the pandemic, but Oakland has been hit insanely hard. It was pretty rough all around. I was, like I said, kind of shocked. Just a lot of just like lots and things where there's just all these cars that look like they've been stripped. And somebody told me that it's gotten so bad there that the electric company has to do, they have to go on their service calls with an armed guard.
Really? Whoa.
Because people were calling in fake, issues with their electric service, and then they'd go out there, and then they get robbed at gunpoint, even for things as little as like their cell phones. And, so people kind of warned us that, especially car theft and things like that were an issue in Oakland. But, I booked a spot up in the Oakland Hills that I told was a much safer bet, and safer area. I parked in a spot that the Airbnb owner told me had a camera on it, and it turns out that the neighbors with the camera barely even knew how to operate it.
Oh man.
So yeah, and we took everything. Like I said, you couldn't see anything in the back, so they wouldn't have known there was gear in there initially. But in the front part, we took out everything that we thought might be appealing to someone, because we thought at worst case scenario smash and grab. But yeah, I mean, I had the van was locked. I had an alarm on it. I had a club on the wheel. That extra lock on the back, all this different stuff. And they got through it like it was nothing.
Yeah. This sounds like more like an organized kind of thing. Cause like, I remember a few years ago, there was a thing like that happened in New York and New Jersey. There was a hotel just on the other side of like the Holland Tunnel or the Lincoln Tunnel, and a lot of touring outfits would stay there, and there was always like people were getting ripped off, and it turned out that there was like some kind of racket going on with the people at the hotel and the lot, and it was like it was a thing, it was like this organized situation where people were getting their stuff stolen like that. And I wonder if it was something like that.
I mean, I would bet. Also, like you were mentioning the catalytic converter thing, and there was somebody. I think they were in a like suburb of Portland, like a neighboring city, and they got arrested a while back because they were like the kingpin of this catalytic converter like ring, where they were stealing them from all these cars. But like this guy was kind of the mastermind behind this whole catalytic converter scheme.
Oh, man.
Because they have like precious materials, metals or something in them where they can sell them for a pretty good amount of money. But yeah, I mean, I mentioned that we had that loft in the back, and I did all that stuff to the van. And so we just kept hoping that maybe someone took it for a joyride and they didn't even know stuff was back there and it would be left. And then I did a FaceTime call with my insurance company when they went out to inspect the van at the tow yard where it's currently sitting in Oakland. And, the guy's like, yeah, the lock is still here and the loft is still here. And I was like, oh man, that's amazing. And then he, flipped the camera around, and I see that the back seat is gone and that all of our gear is gone, which a lot of it is like, very unique, kind of not your typical gear. So, I mean, there is the chance that some of that stuff will surface because, for example, my guitar amp was one of a kind. So, we're still kind of putting the feelers out there if anyone, sees the gear pop up, we have a list online of all the stuff. Um, but assuming that we're not going to get it back, we're trying to kind of piece together our gear setups again, and get going so we can continue to play and practice and do shows.
Yeah, I was going to ask you if you had like serial numbers and equipment descriptions and things like that that you can just share with people. So you do have that stuff posted somewhere, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we have serial numbers for everything. I do have a serial number for my amp, and I know, some of the other guys might have that information as well. But for the most part, yeah, we just have a detailed list. And like I said, there's some weird stuff in there. Jared has a 9-string guitar that he, built. And I had like a 4-string Warren Ellis tenor guitar in there. That's not super common. Just stuff like that. So yeah, just
Well,
trying to pick up the pieces and rebuild, and I have been trying to find silver linings where we can. Like, oh, this is a chance to, maybe tweak certain elements of our sound and make it even better. So just trying to keep positive and think of things that way when we can.
Well, can you do me a favor and send me a link to that, and I can start circulating that just within the network of people I know, and get around the country, and I know that sometimes, especially if it's something very, very unique, and someone tries to sell it, that I have heard of people having success with recovering stolen equipment. So I mean, if you could forward me a link, send me a link or something, and I can start posting it and sharing it, and people hopefully will share it, and maybe something will come up. Maybe someone will find it on like Reverb or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, that would be great. Thank you so much. I mean, we've been looking at all the sites like Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace and OfferUp and Reverb. And like I said, it's a pretty quick search for a lot of this stuff because it's not always your typical gear. So and we're also all working with like our individual homeowners and renters insurance for recouping some costs for the stolen gear. But for example, like Chadwick had a 1979 Rickenbacker bass that he just bought last year. That cost anywhere from like $3,000 to $4,000. And because his deductible with his, homeowner's insurance, they offered him $150.
Oh man.
So, it's just like one of those things where like we're trying to work with insurance. We're trying to, recoup what we can there. But there are instances like that where it's just not, it's not going to be anywhere near what the value of the item actually is. And I mean, and then they took stuff too, like we had like 3 duffel bags of merch. They took that. I don't know what they're going to do with that many dry wedding shirts and sweatshirts or whatever. And then, we had a couple of bins of LPs, we had like those kind of like, those like heavy duty, like record cases full of dry wedding records. And then, there was a small stack of records that we had, bought along the tour, personal records that we had picked up at some shops. But yeah, mostly, like I said, again, they're going to have just a bunch of dry wedding, merch and records. I don't know what they're going to do with those. So yeah, like I said, they just took everything that I thought might be worth anything. So,
well, once again, man, my heart goes out to you, and like I'm sorry for like opening up any fresh wounds talking about this stuff, but I just wanted everyone on the podcast that listens to this to know about it, because you're also doing a GoFundMe to help recoup some of the expenses. And I know a lot of people that listen to the show playing bands, or at least are music enthusiasts. And I'd just like to ask everyone, instead of getting a cup of coffee over the weekend or buying a beer at a bar, maybe donate something to Dry Wedding, and so they can get back on their feet and get rolling again, because this is like a horrible thing that's happened. And it's a nightmare. It's a recurring nightmare that I have, and it's happened to other people that I've known. And it's a devastating thing when you go out on the road and you're already kind of living at it with a very small margin as it is, and something terrible like this happens. And so if anyone out there can, I know times are tough these days, but if you can scrape together a couple bucks or whatever, just please help out Dry Wedding, man, and get these guys back on their feet. So what's the link for that? How can people find the GoFundMe?
We do have it, and before I even jump into that, thank you so much for having me on and for spreading awareness about all of this. There is a GoFundMe page, like you said. We do have it shared on our Instagram page right now, which is just at Dry Wedding. And then I'm trying to think of how I would share this. Verbally, because it's kind of, a longer.
Well, maybe just the social media places and the websites, because I know that you guys have it on Instagram. I don't know if it's on. I know I shared it on the Everything Went Black Facebook and things like that. So maybe wherever you guys have it posted, because I know it's not like a GoFundMe.com / like it's not like an actual web address. It's a link that you have to share.
Yeah, that's correct. So it is in our Instagram bio, and like I said, our Instagram is at Dry Wedding. I'm double checking right now. I think I also put it in I also put it in the intro section of our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/Dry Wedding. And yeah, you can find that link in both of those places. And we've been tons of people have been sharing it. It's been again, that's another silver lining here, is that people have been so kind. They've been sharing all of our posts, trying to help us, recover the gear, or, when the van was still missing, trying to help us track it down. People have been donating to the GoFundMe. So, I mean, all of that stuff has been, absolutely incredible, and definitely helps us not want to crawl into a dark hole somewhere, never to return.
Oh man, we'll get through all this stuff, man. I'm confident of that. But that's, once again, man, please go out there and contribute something, and hopefully get these guys back on their feet and back on the road, and also helping makes you feel good just in general. So there you go.
Yeah, well, I mean, thank you again. And also, I mean, today is Bandcamp Friday. I haven't been trying to really hawk that all that much with everything else going on. But if you'd rather buy a record or a pin, we get all the money through Bandcamp today. So that would also help. Those are the things that we still have some of that, I had some at home that weren't stolen with everything else. So.
Well, like I said, man, it's a bummer that these are the circumstances under which we're chatting, but it's good talking to you, man. And once stay in touch, man, and let us know how things are going with all this stuff.
Yeah, of course. And again, thank you so much for everything you've done. I mean, you and, like you mentioned, Ralph as well, have just been so supportive. I mean, even before this. And so, you reaching out to me about this and helping out even more is just incredible. So thank you so much.
Awesome, man. Now, everyone go out there and donate some money, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Take care now.